So on the fundamental side of things, we'll go back to Netflix here. So this is how we're going to trade based off of levels. So like I was mentioning before, a big portion of what I trade is based off of levels. So support and resistance, which basically means areas that price is likely to bounce off of, whether it be to the downside and then back up, or to the upside and then back down. So there are areas that price needs to visit and either reject or reclaim, and that is your signal to continue holding a position or get some sort of reversal position going. So the basics of levels on how you would chart those. I usually will go to, hourly, daily, just because I find it quicker and easier because I scan through a lot of charts, figuring out levels. And so, first off, if you were to just chart on the hourly, I look to a lot of the bigger candles and where they started or ended just to set levels. So, like let's say here on Netflix, this would be an important spot that you could set a level here, these lows, because you can see there's multiple bodies or wicks touching those certain price points. So, like, look how this lines up. If we set a low right here, there's an hourly wick down there that was bought back up, started an uptrend. It's a fairly important spot. And if you look at the confluence of what's happening here at 8:59, that wick was back in November. And we can see going forward exactly what's happening at that wick. So it's definitely a support or resistance level. And if you look, after that big sell-off with the measured move back down to this wick right here that we charted from November, that was the bottom on the hourly time frame for bodies of candles. So you know there that that's an important place, and you're going to want to watch that going forward to either break or bounce again. And so that's pretty much, if you just want to go through hourly, which I find myself doing quite often rather than monthly, that's where you're going to want to look. And if I had to guess, so a lot of these wicks will be print wicks. So there's big dark pool prints that'll go on. And this is a major spot here. I would wager that there's probably a large dark pool print that was transacted at this place somewhere around here. So keep that in mind. That's a big spot. Usually nowadays I find myself just going through the hourly charts, but we also have daily, weekly, and monthly. So a lot of people just go straight to monthly, figure out exactly what's going on in the higher time frames, and you can kind of look at confluence of where the ends of wicks and the ends of bodies are at different places. So like right here, for example, we can go back to this 2021 October candle, pop a level right here, and then from right here, that would be one of our monthly levels. And you can, organize these by colors, anything like that. So we have that level right there. We know that that's there. Now let's look for some more interesting wicks that are lining up with any bodies. So right here, this wick came down roughly to about this area. So even some of these you could have put a zone there. So like let's put a zone right here. I'm going to adjust, make that go all the way to the left and to the right. And you can see how that lines up on a spot that you would bounce from. So that would be a huge zone right there where there's an imbalance, and you would want to watch that for a bounce when it retests. So that's pretty much the basics of going through different time frames. So I usually go through, like I said, I'll comb through hourly now just because it's a lot easier and I can just quickly, plot these wicks that happen. So like here's another one right there. You could plot a level right there, plot a level right there. And those are just quick little levels that you can do if you don't have something charted out, but you saw some flow and you want to enter a trade. You can just find those wicks real quick. And then from there, we can also go to the daily, and that's even a little bit cleaner. It's a good compromise between monthly and hourly. So we can see this is a fascinating wick right here on earnings. Plop a level right there. Figure out exactly what's going on the daily time frame. And usually and it's funny how all these line up. So look at that. That same hourly wick down there. Clearly very important because we've rejected off of it or bounced back off of it on this sell-off, which also happened to be our target. So this is one really good one, like I was mentioning, where you can look at the measured move and then you can look and say, okay, there's a level in that area. So maybe I'm not going to hold to exactly 856, at least if I'm in a longer term trade, because while that's the measured move, it might visit it, but there's a level here that it might bounce from, which it did into the close. So that's your spot to watch, and that's pretty much the basics of how you would do that on an hourly and a daily. Same thing with the weekly. Lines up, very, very clean. And then you can add levels based off of areas of convergence. And over time, honestly, most of this is just screen time. So over time, you will find that different types of candles and wicks and intersections of where price meets up with these levels and wicks and bodies, you'll find that different ones do different things. And so just with screen time and getting confidence, you'll figure out exactly what works with different charts, because different types of levels work with different types of charts, but overall the fundamentals still exist. And in the beginning, you'll probably add way too many levels, and then you'll figure out, okay, like, I don't necessarily need to care about this or that, depending on which chart it is. So that's the basics using Netflix. And then we'll also go over real quick, because we want to keep this session a little bit shorter, because this is just the intro on some of my favorite stuff that I like to do. So we'll also go over app here. We'll go over some indicators and stuff like that. So like I was saying before, when you go over different levels, the higher the time frame it is up to a monthly, the more important it is. So a 10-minute level, not going to be as important as an hourly. Hourly is not going to be as important as a daily. Daily is not going to be important as a weekly, yada, yada.